In a world which is connected in every possible way, we take on the challenge for the next step forward. Say hello to a better mobility future, a mobility future for people, not cars.
For us, TUMI has been a window into the world, and that's amazing because we see people who are struggling with similar things, but we also see solutions. We also see promise. We see hope, and it's real.
We believe in innovation, knowledge, investment.
The aim is to support decision makers, actors, planners, experts in the area of urban planning in how to change it into integrated planning.
For the organization, it's taking us to a place that we honestly never imagined we would be in terms of having the legitimacy, the credibility, the support to roll out a program, with the credibility. To me, that is something that you can't just get in your bank account.
We support urban leaders all around the world with innovative solutions on the ground, providing state-of-the-art know-how and mobilizing investments to achieve a more sustainable urban mobility future.
The initiative is an extraordinary program all around the world, helping cities become more livable and in a sustainable way. It's helping cycling, it's helping walking, it's helping compact urban development, and it's also helping innovation.
We have the future in mind. Together we transform urban mobility for the better of the world, for the better of all.
Latin America is the world's most urbanized region with 80% of the population living in cities. This population depends highly on formal and informal public transport daily. Before the pandemic, economic growth in Latin America and the Caribbean was at its weakest point in decades. Nicolás Estupiñán is the Secretary of Transport of Bogotá since January of 2020. He led quick decision-making since the beginning of the COVID-19 pandemic, making Bogotá an example of resilience through the promotion of over 100 kilometers of new bike lanes in the city. Prior to his work for the city of Bogotá, he worked for the World Bank, the DNP, the CAF, and as Deputy Minister of Transport.
So Bogotá, yes, was one of the quickest cities that reacted to COVID-19. We had two basic goals for these interventions. We have a short-term goal, which is keep public transportation levels under 35% of occupancy. So that's our first short-term goal. And then we have a long-term goal, and that is to take this opportunity, seize this opportunity to continue redistributing space. We know, of course, that public space is occupied mostly by private cars, so we're using this opportunity to have a long-term redistribution of public space. So those are our two interventions. Why did we implement this so quickly, or what was our main ability, I would say our main characteristic that enabled us to act that quickly was that we were able to take chances. We said it's okay to make mistakes. So we know that we would not get it right at the first time, but we were able to take some risks and to say, okay, so perhaps we can make mistakes and we can correct these mistakes on time. What else have we done to ensure safe mobility? Well, we have done some few activities that have come along together with these 80 kilometers of bike paths. We have been, of course, making some deep cultural transformations. One of the main things that we have understood during these uncertain times is that people can react fast and people can adapt and people can change. But people need leadership and people need to connect with the administration. People need to understand why we're taking these decisions and to transmit this message, to connect with them, telling them, we are here to protect you. So please stay home. And if you have to go out, then you have these alternatives. And these alternatives will take you safely to their destinations, providing safety, social distancing, and of course, different alternatives. What needs to be done to make these changes permanent? I would say political will. We have seen these uncertain times as an opportunity, and we can take this opportunity, we can seize this opportunity if we have political decision. And this Mayor Claudia Lopez, has empowered all the administration and has empowered all the team that we have here in the Secretary of Mobility. And we have said, okay, so we're gonna take this chance. That is the kind of empowerment that you need, that is the kind of political decision that you need, and that's what makes the differences between going from these temporal changes to making those changes permanent. What advice would you give to other cities? Be able and take chances. Be willing to take some chances and take some decisions with the information that you have. Gather as much data as you can and then take your chances and be able to make mistakes. After the lockdown has ended, mobility is going to change a lot. So we're talking about this new normality. We are also starting to talk about the new mobility. And the new mobility is perhaps something that we have been working over the past years and over the past decades. But I think we have here a very important opportunity to, of course, go to bicycles, redistribute public space, and then promote shared mobility. We know that mass transit is going to be having some complications in the coming months and in the coming years. People are going to be afraid of going into mass transit. So we're going to see a hard push for individual mobility. We need to make sure that those people that want to go to individual mobility can be captured by bicycles. We are making sure that all this bicycle strategy comes not only with infrastructure, but with safety, with cultural transformations, and of course with additional incentives, economic incentives through companies and through industries. And then again, shared mobility is going to be one of those things that are going to help us in the new mobility contribute into having a reduced occupancy in public transportation and then keep people away from individual mobility. So those two, I think, are going to be the pillars of the new mobility. And how would a clean, recovered transport look like? I would say not much different from what we're trying to do. More bicycles, more micromobility, more safety, both in criminal of course protecting our women, and then of course promoting shared modes. So I think those are the main interventions that we would like to see over the next few years.
Thank you very much, Nicolás, for taking your time to share your experience from Bogotá with us.
Esta ciclovía es lo mejor que han podido hacer en este plan de emergencia que tenemos en la ciudad, ya que pues realmente el transporte público está muy congestionado y pues esto es lo mejor que hay. Ojalá lo dejaran de tiro largo para siempre, porque se siente uno más seguro en cuanto al transporte, los vehículos particulares, etcétera, etcétera. Y anda uno más tranquilo, llega uno más rápido a su casa y cero estrés. Normalmente utilizo Transmilenio, pero debido a la situación me toca bicicleta, utilizar la bici. Me favorece en beneficios, en cuanto a beneficios, transporte, salud, muchas cosas. Para mi salud es importantísimo.
Es excelente, ya lleva desde el momento en que se presentó lo de la emergencia ambiental y es genial, porque le da un grado de seguridad para poder viajar en la bicicleta. Antes me movía en moto, pero pues como vivo ahora más cerca a mi trabajo, prefiero la bicicleta. La comodidad, que hago ejercicio, ahorita pues por lo menos estamos respirando un aire puro, entonces es muy bueno, para mí me parece bien.
Pues excelente, porque tiene uno como en bicicleta tiene menos peligro y va más seguro. Me parece muy excelente, excelente, y ojalá que las aplicaran en todas las vías. Anteriormente estaba usando Transmilenio, pero en vista de la multitud y todo eso, yo prefiero desplazarme en bicicleta, porque tengo menos riesgo, donde haya menos multitud, mucho mejor. ¿Ve? Entonces los desplazamientos deben ser ojalá individuales, yo estas calles las ando solo.
Me parece que es muy buena porque pues, se puede transportar uno más tranquilo, porque hay mucho carro que va a alta velocidad en estos días que está desocupada la vía. Entonces está muy bien señalizada, entonces me parece muy bien. Porque pues anda uno más tranquilo, rinde más el tiempo, hace uno deporte y pues es un hábito saludable.
Esta ciclovía para mí es excelente porque nos da una seguridad más contra los vehículos. Totalmente en bicicleta. Pues por muchas razones, por la economía y también por el desplazamiento, para mí es más fácil en bicicleta. Uy, muchos, sobre todo en la salud. He sentido mucha mejoría para mi salud. Y el bolsillo, se ahorra mucho dinerito también.
Hoy una empresa privada nos está donando en préstamo durante el tiempo que nos dure la crisis estas bicicletas eléctricas. ¿Y a quién las está poniendo a disposición? Del personal de salud, de las personas que están día y noche recorriendo la ciudad, de las personas que tienen que hacer lo que nosotros llamamos estudios epidemiológicos, de las personas que buscan los contactos de aquellos pacienticos que ya nos dieron positivos.
Realmente es muy gratificante para nosotros, puesto que nosotros tenemos un alto riesgo de contagio, ya que nosotros manejamos un número de pacientes muy alto.
El tema de las bicicletas nos ayuda muchísimo, tanto para movilidad, para evitar también pues, el mismo contacto que vamos a tener con este tipo de pacientes. Siempre tenemos el lema, tú te cuidas, yo te cuido.
Esto nos va a permitir transportarnos libremente sin tener que estar en contacto con las demás personas.
Este tipo de medidas, que además manda un mensaje poderoso desde la movilidad limpia, desde la Bogotá que todos estamos construyendo, nos parece muy destacable.
Vamos a entregar 400 bicicletas que van a ser distribuidas en las 4 subredes de la Secretaría de Salud.
Desde aquí, desde el Hospital de Chapinero, uno de los puntos destinados y que hemos vaciado de pacientes para estar dispuestos a la atención del COVID, nos complace mucho dar esta buena noticia.
Great impressions from Bogotá. I think the city itself has established itself as a very strong partner for the development of cycling. And this is not new during the COVID crisis. For many years, the city has pursued a very active policy towards cycling, walking and of course public transport. So we have developed jointly with UCL as part of an upcoming e-learning course, a short video about cycling in Bogotá. Enjoy.
Bogotá's well-known ciclovia, cycleway, has been central to the development of cycling facilities and a cycling culture in the city. The ciclovia involves the closure of key roads to traffic on Sundays and national holidays, and instead gives the road space to pedestrians, cyclists, runners and skaters.
Cycling in Bogotá really started in the 70s with this movement called ciclovia, which was basically a few young, kind of very progressive individuals were seeking to make a statement in terms of what was happening in the country back then. Modernism was coming into the country. Cities, there's a lot of plans for cities to get redeveloped under this kind of idea of modernism, and they used the bicycle as a symbol to kind of protest that and to protest the meaning of public space that was being given back then, right? So we have cities being designed for the automobile, very top-down planning. And the ciclovia in exactly 1974 kind of is a statement to show, the city and the citizens that, hey, we can take back public space. We can use the bicycle to show that there's another way of using the streets.
Roads are closed from 7 a.m. to 2 p.m. using a simple method such as a cone or tape blocking entry for vehicles. The road closures have gradually been extended over time and now provide routes of over 121 kilometers in length across different parts of the city. The event has been threatened by some pro-car politicians on occasions, suggesting it led to traffic congestion, but always there has been strong support from the public and from other more enlightened politicians. In general, it has very widespread support. Wider events are held internationally under different names, such as Car-Free Days, Critical Mass Rides, Reclaim the Streets, and Open Streets. These events are hugely successful and popular, demonstrating what cities can be like when traffic priority is removed. This is an inexpensive and relatively easy to implement measure, and very effectively demonstrates the impacts of giving streetscape back to pedestrians and cyclists.
Our next guest is joining us from the Argentinian capital, Buenos Aires. Buenos Aires has been a strict lockdown for several weeks. Adapting the transport system to this lockdown situation and also the slow return to normality is a huge challenge. We are happy to know more what the city is doing.
En una primera etapa, cuando en Buenos Aires todavía no regía el aislamiento obligatorio, tomamos las medidas para administrar la demanda en el transporte público. Como sabemos, tanto el subte, los colectivos o los trenes son focos de contagio importantes en esta pandemia. Por eso dispusimos limitar la capacidad de estos medios de transporte, poniendo como límite el que todos los pasajeros puedan estar sentados. Además, el subte empezó a funcionar con un esquema especial, parando solo en algunas estaciones estratégicas cerca de hospitales y de puntos de transbordo importantes. Y en tercer lugar, empezamos a alentar medios de transporte alternativo. Liberamos el estacionamiento en la ciudad para los autos particulares y empezamos a promover el uso de la bici y las caminatas a pie. En una segunda etapa, ya con el aislamiento obligatorio vigente, aparecieron nuevos desafíos en la ciudad. En primer lugar, restringir los accesos a la ciudad y permitir que solo circulen las personas con trabajos esenciales y personal de salud. Es por eso que implementamos un sistema de permisos para que solo puedan acceder las personas que realmente tienen que moverse y empezamos a hacer controles en los accesos a la ciudad. También implementamos el uso de tapabocas obligatorio en la vía pública y en el transporte público e intervenimos más de 500 puntos en la ciudad donde la gente esperaba el colectivo o esperaba ingresar al subte para demarcar la distancia social y los 2 metros necesarios para mantener la distancia y cuidarnos. En esta tercera etapa estamos incentivando el comercio local y el desarrollo de una economía de cercanía. Lo que queremos nosotros es que los vecinos empiecen a vincularse con la ciudad a una escala mucho más humana y sustentable. Es por eso que en este plan de permitir que los vecinos vuelvan a los comercios de cercanía, intervenimos más de 100 puntos de la ciudad, ampliando las veredas peatonales o generando centros exclusivamente peatonales de comercio para que la gente y las personas puedan mantener la distancia social. También estamos incentivando el uso de la movilidad activa, promoviendo los viajes en bicicleta, reactivamos el sistema público de bicicleta y los monopatines compartidos y además permitimos por primera vez en la ciudad de Buenos Aires que las personas con bicicleta puedan ingresar al subte, con el motivo y el fin de evitar más combinaciones y el potencial contagio. Como resultado de todas estas medidas, registramos bajas históricas de circulación en la ciudad. Tanto el subte, el colectivo, los trenes y mismo el transporte en auto particular registraron bajas de hasta un 95% en pasajeros, lo que realmente nos demostró que en la ciudad se cumplió con el aislamiento.
Thanks so much for sharing this experience with us. Many cities are learning from Buenos Aires' experience. We now welcome Laura Ballesteros to our program. Laura is the former Subsecretary of Mobility of Mexico City and now Deputy Senator. She has worked intensively on the Mexican mobility law. As an activist, Laura is advocating for gender inclusion in the transport agenda.
Our community is in the middle of a worldwide health emergency. The COVID-19 arrived in cities and people are facing a battle for health inside their houses, hospitals and healthcare centers. The streets are empty now. Urban life will change. Density and mass transit, among other things, will be challenged. This is the reason why equity and sustainability are facing their most important moment. After COVID-19, whether we are capable to build inclusive infrastructure or the gap against the most vulnerable groups will increase dramatically. This means going beyond pedestrian, cyclist, and public transport infrastructure with a full resiliency approach. Because to work on a resilience concept of transport and mobility is to work on women, workers, elder population, people with disabilities, and especially on children. Most of them main users of the non-motorized mobility, such as walking, cycling, public transport systems too. For women, for example, since the pandemic, we have been in between in a dark transition from the gender care urban mobility to a gender care quarantine. The roles are still there, even if we don't have to use the streets. And if we have to, we are more vulnerable right now because our mobility patterns and the speed of the cars on the non-congested streets. Finally, I would like to address an important agenda on women too, based on the informal work in Latin America. For most of our countries, around 54% of workers are part of the informal sector, and in Mexico, 60% of them are women. An important group of them are cleaning houses, and because the pandemic, they are not working anymore right now, suffering this economic crisis. This is the reason we started a network to advocate for the full payment on their salary, even if they are not available to work right now because of the quarantine. So the key question here is how we can build a safer, healthier, greener, inclusive, and equal development in cities. And mobility happens to be one of the key answers. This is the reason why bolder cities like Bogotá, New York, Paris, Berlin, Milan, or Barcelona are changing and investing during COVID-19 in cycling, open streets for pedestrians, safe ferries, intersections, and speed management, as the example of the type of resiliency of mobility that we will shape the future. Those mobility options are the most resilient ones because they are green, affordable, relieve streets from traffic and pollution, do not need expensive infrastructure, and most important, build equity for all. The world has the opportunity to change what is wrong on the streets. This pandemic demands us a change in the way we move, and especially how we face the future. Cities will shape this mobility and resiliency, and the role of local government will be key too. They have the opportunity to relieve the most important needs and to stop with the strong actions all the menaces, like in COVID times. So cities are being called for this transformation. As Benjamin Bartley says, maybe they will rule the world because they act faster.
Thank you, Laura, for joining us from Mexico and making us aware of these crucial issues.
Desde el primer día en el que se confirmó en el Perú el primer caso de COVID, el señor presidente de la República movilizó todos los recursos del Estado. La estrategia de la ATU ha sido, en primer lugar, la de contención. Los peruanos y peruanas somos capaces de hacer muchísimas cosas, de unirnos para vencer este mal. Este es el momento de la responsabilidad. Nuestro destino depende de ti, de cada persona.
Gobierno del Perú, el Perú primero.
Next, we have a very special guest on TUMI TV. Peatonito used to be a normal citizen of Mexico City until one day he decided to fight for the rights of pedestrians. As a masked luchador, he performs his task as a pedestrian activist superhero.
Hi everyone, my name is Peatonito. I'm a pedestrian Mexican wrestler fighting for safer and walkable streets in Mexico City. Thanks for having me here on TUMI TV, and I would like to start saying, hi Mom, I love you. So, what have I learned from the COVID-19 crisis? During the coronavirus crisis, I have learned that life is fragile, and we have to appreciate it more. COVID-19 has shown us in our faces the fragility of the human project. We can die tomorrow just like that. We are not invisible, and we have to build cities with more space for people and less space for cars. We can only guarantee physical distance if we take back the streets for pedestrians. We need wider sidewalks, pedestrian streets, and more public spaces. Now, how is my life influenced by the crisis? I miss a lot my commutes to work and to the university. I miss walking, I miss biking, and I miss riding public transit. Commuting for me was an everyday meditation and my first and last physical exercise of the day. These days, it is challenging to stay at home. But if we have the privilege to stay home, we must do it. And it is an excellent opportunity to relax, do some yoga, and study urban planning and road safety stuff. So next, how do I fight for pedestrian rights in this crisis? I usually go out to the streets and defend pedestrians from reckless drivers. I stop cars, push cars, paint sidewalks, paint crosswalks, walk on the top of the vehicles parked in the sidewalk. But now I must stay home. I am living right now in Los Angeles, California. I'm studying here a master in urban planning and transportation at UCLA. So nowadays, the way I fight for pedestrian rights during this crisis is reading and writing academic papers about road safety. Right now I am writing my capstone project titled The Pedestrian Battle of Los Angeles. This title is inspired by the album The Battle of Los Angeles by the great rock band Rage Against the Machine. Now, who is the bigger enemy? Corona or the cars? That's a good question. I think that both Corona and the cars are deadly weapons of mass destruction. Cars kill around 3,000 people every day. And you know, the leading cause of death of children in many countries in the world is road crashes. We are killing our kids just because we want to move fast. Nevertheless, I think that coronavirus is way more dangerous than cars. Just yesterday, around 5,000 people died due to COVID-19 all over the world. And the problem with a virus is that it expands exponentially. And we don't have a vaccine yet. But we have a vaccine for road crashes. Traffic violence is also classified as a pandemic by the World Health Organization. In the case of traffic crashes, we shouldn't think about flattening the curve. We need to stop road crashes today, immediately, because in this case we have a vaccine. Speed limits. In all cities in the world, all motorized vehicles shouldn't go faster than 20 miles per hour or 30 kilometers per hour. And the best way to reach this is by designing streets that force cars to slow down. The coronavirus crisis has shown us that it is the end of wide roads for cars. What better time like this to start the era of wide sidewalks? For example, the mayor of London has just announced last week that a significant part of the city will be car-free. This way, pedestrians can maintain physical distance. I think that this crisis could be an opportunity to fight towards the car-free city's dream, and we will be happier without cars in the streets. Finally, how is it for me to see more people with masks on the streets? This is a good one. Actually, I'm thinking about making a special mask of Peatonito that protects your nose and your mouth, a coronavirus mask edition. I will give it away to many people in the streets. That way people with my mask can protect each other from the coronavirus, and at the same time they are fighting for pedestrian rights in the streets. Alright, thank you again for having me here on TUMI TV. I'm Peatonito. Remember to fight for your pedestrian rights. Bye everyone. I love you, Mom.
Thank you, Peatonito, for fighting for the pedestrians' right and for being our guest on TUMI TV today. Is playing a critical role in time of social distancing. However, women are often afraid to move
Thank you very much. We are Thank you very much. We are now live on air with TUMI TV, and today we covered the globe. We went from Asia over to Europe and Africa, and now we are in the Wild West, as I call it, in the Americas. And we have two experts live on air right now, UT and Dario Hidalgo. Thank you so much for coming with us on TUMI TV, and we are looking forward to your insights live from the Americas and from what we just heard, the gender panel, and so many other insights from Latin America. UT, I would like to ask you the first question, moving ahead also. What is your impression so far of the reaction to COVID-19 you have seen in Canada? How is that moving forward?
Yes, well, first off, it's a real pleasure to be on TUMI TV, Daniel, and it's a real honor to be here. My sort of humble observations of the reaction in Canada, there are many similarities, of course, across the world. Like transit ridership has dropped dramatically. In Canada, the statistics are that transit ridership dropped around 83% on average across the country. Now, I think what is a little bit unique, perhaps, about the North American situation, and what I really, focused on when I created a video about it, is that in North America and Canada and the U.S. specifically, people have a very viable alternative to taking transit, which is the automobile. We've built up a lot of car infrastructure in our countries over the last several decades, and so a concern that I've had is that once transit ridership goes away, it will recover very, very painfully and gradually. The people that can afford to, that have the financial means to, have every reason to drive at the moment, and the people that can't, the people that don't have the financial means to, afford a car, drive a car, will be stuck with a transit system that is, increasingly entering a bit of a financial crisis out here. So that's been my observation so far.
Thank you, Yuti. You are a videographer and a journalist, and you're covering urban issues and transport issues from a very wide perspective. So thanks again also for this insight. And now we also have a second guest with us, which is Dario Hidalgo. He's a veteran, I would say, in the urban mobility world. He has been working on so many aspects of urban transport. It's hard to take count of that. And he's joining us from Colombia. And Dario, I would like to get your impression first on around the changes we are seeing in Bogotá. And I think a lot of that has been covered already earlier. But maybe what's your opinion? What's your perspective on this?
Well, as in many places in the world, the activity has gone down as we have faced lockdowns, and there is a very, very sharp reduction in activity, and we have seen things that we have not experienced before. We have seen clean air. We have seen a reduction in traffic fatalities. We have heard the birds in the morning when we are waking up, which is not normal because of the noise of the city, and we are seeing many things that we work for, but for a bad reason. That reason is this crisis, this health crisis that is holding our economic down, that is creating a lot of job losses, that is creating a lot of challenges. And then gradually we are now trying to move on to more activity to cover these important things of people getting their livelihoods, the economic activity get going, because what we are facing is also an economic crisis after the health crisis. So, but we don't want to go back to the normal. We don't want to go back to congestion, to air pollution, to traffic fatalities, to all these things that we had been really working hard for many years, and has been difficult fight, has been a very, very difficult fight, because the perception of many planners, many decision makers is that you are able to build your way out of these problems. And we have seen that it's not possible to build and more roads and create a different kind of city. What we need to look forward, and the conference today has been great, showing us experiences from Asia, from Africa, and now from the Americas, and also this gender perspective. And it is creating a new normal, which is more resilient and more sustainable. The two things, not going back to the same thing, but it's not easy. It requires a lot of leadership.
Thank you, Dario. Yuti, thank you also for the videos which we have been able to show throughout the day. And I think one aspect which is striking when you look at the videos is the sheer difference in volume of cars, and which are going down, and on the other hand, bicycles and people walking, which is going up to some extent. And this is producing, I think, very striking images. You see that on the media internationally. From your perspective as a videographer and a journalist also, how would you say is the messaging of the sustainable transport community right now in terms of producing these images of empty streets? Is that something which you would judge positive, or how do you see this?
Yeah, you're right. These images have been very striking. Streets are empty for the first time, not for the first time, just for the first time ever. And I totally relate to what Dario is saying. The air is clean. You see these images in India where I think from certain cities you can see the Himalayas again. Nuts. So I think how I would describe this is it's a window of opportunity. We have a period of time right now, in a very increasingly limited period of time where mobility has completely gone away, and we can kind of, sort of reinvent the wheel. I'm sorry for that pun, but we can kind of, decide what sort of society we return to. So some quick statistics. I read this morning on The Guardian that in the UK, according to Sigma Sports, which is a big bicycle retailer, their bicycle sales are up by 667% this year from last year, which is nuts of a statistic. And that's a trend that you're seeing all over the world, I imagine, where a lot of people are discovering walking, active transportation in general as a viable way to get around their cities. I would like to also, but for me, the other side of that is we also want to keep in mind that there could be a return of the car. And in cities like Houston, Texas, you're seeing traffic jams already returning, and the city is only in phase 2 of its recovery. Apple Maps Mobility just reported that across the U.S., car traffic is back to its baseline levels, which to me is these are very concerning statistics. We're seeing recovery in car traffic that is happening much quicker than a recovery in public transit use. So to me, yes, I would call it this window of opportunity that ideally we could act rather quickly on.
Okay, I see that window of opportunity is coming up and up again, and another window of opportunity, but in a bad way, is what we have seen popping up with the gender debate, where women especially are disadvantaged, and COVID-19 is not the equalizer. It was first claimed COVID-19 could be an equalizer because everybody's confined to their places, but actually COVID-19 is making disparities more extreme. And Dario, you have been with us also from the very first place, and I would like to ask you, how are you seeing the gender perspective developing in Latin America? And we've heard some insights also earlier from the gender panel on this.
Yes, the gender panel was wonderful, and actually it's a follow-up of your big event 2 years back of Women in Motion and the creation of organizations that had been doing the 3 things or 4 things that are needed in terms of gender perspective. Have more, consider data and planning for the care, because many women need that type of trip. Also, the care trips. More women in leadership, making decisions, because if we keep making decisions from the male perspective, we will completely miss the point for half of the population. Also, creating more safe environment for women, and that's something that is needed. Probably the reduction in occupancy that we are seeing, and because of a requirement, in Colombia it's a requirement, 35% limit in occupancy of the trains and the buses in the country. It is something that provides a safer environment for women, but also they need to have that safe environment, and having as you have been trying in TUMI and in general, having the female perspective, and I'm not the advocate myself, I'm just a listener and replicating. We need more voices, and unfortunately you are giving voices to the gender perspective. And in terms of activity, it is incredible the tally that has been created by TAPCOMS and others in terms of number of cities that have been facing and doing things. 250, and the number is growing, doing the street openings rather than street closings, doing sidewalk widening, doing now restaurants on the street and things like that. This is a great opportunity for repurposing the city space that for 100 years had been just dominated by cars and not by people.
Thank you very much, Dario. Thank you very much, Uite. And I sense that we have some sort of early conclusion also coming from this live Q&A on TUMI TV, is that we're having a great window of opportunity, but we have to seize to the opportunity and fill it. And this means we have to look at how can we use the opportunity to equalize disparities, how can we take the opportunity to build sustainable transport infrastructure, which means just in this moment also cycling infrastructure, walking infrastructure, and then with a stimulus which hopefully will come into green public transport infrastructure. So these are some of the aspects which we are looking forward to, which are an early conclusion also from this live Q&A. So I would really like to thank you, Dario and Uite, for having you here live on TUMI TV. Thank you very much for being here with us and taking the time. And right now we are moving over very swiftly, actually, into a webinar with our dear partners and close collaborators for the past years, Euroclima Plus, an initiative which works specifically on sustainable transport in Latin America. And we will be with them for a couple of minutes as they explore the challenges and the solutions which apply to sustainable mobility in Latin America. So please stay tuned. We're now moving over to Euroclima Plus. Thank you very much.
En relación con el virus del COVID-19 y su impacto sobre el transporte y la movilidad en la ciudad de Chile, yo veo 5 grandes consecuencias. La primera de ellas es la valoración social que se ha producido sobre el espacio público y sobre los desplazamientos como fin en sí. Con esto me refiero a que se ha perdido un poco esta concepción del transporte como un origen y un destino únicamente, y se ha puesto un valor en lo que sucede mientras nos desplazamos. La gente está añorando el hecho de desplazarse, lo que se produce en esos desplazamientos, el valor de desplazarse, las consecuencias de encontrarse en el espacio público, etc. Por otro lado, el confinamiento de las personas ha disminuido, ha tenido un impacto sobre la cantidad de vehículos que se desplazan en las ciudades, disminuyendo significativamente la cantidad de desplazamientos, pero al mismo tiempo los pocos vehículos que se observan en las calles han aumentado considerablemente su velocidad, aumentando también el riesgo de andar en las calles, ¿cierto? Ya sea dentro de los vehículos o como transeúnte. Esto porque al no ver otros vehículos, al no ver tanto control, ¿cierto? Sin duda ha dado un margen, ¿cierto? Como de libertad, que me parece muy riesgoso porque costó mucho regular la velocidad bajo los 50 km por hora. Como tercer punto, creo que ha aumentado fuertemente el negocio del delivery, que conlleva, ¿cierto?, a preguntarnos por la regulación de estos medios de reparto que muchas veces son informales. Me preocupa principalmente también la seguridad social de los trabajadores que están detrás de esa cadena de reparto, los que sin duda ponen en riesgo su vida para poder percibir un sueldo y para poder mantener la cadena de abastecimiento de las familias. Abre ahí un foco social que quizás no se estaba viendo dentro de la regulación del transporte. Como cuarto punto, sin duda la bicicleta ha recobrado fuerza, ya venía tomando desde algunos años bastante fuerza, pero en este contexto adquiere mayor fuerza aún, un medio altamente seguro, sostenible y económico. Las autoridades lentamente han empezado a incorporar este criterio en sus planificaciones y se han anunciado una serie de planes de emergencia, de ciclovías de emergencia, que esperamos sean lo suficientemente ambiciosas para permitir que la mayoría de las familias y de los chilenos en distintas ciudades, bajo distintas circunstancias, puedan hacer uso de las ciclovías, ya sea para desplazarse.
Atendiendo a las políticas de restricción que establece el Ministerio de Salud, las autoridades sanitarias y en asocio con el Ministerio de Obras Públicas y Transportes, ese primer impacto es el hecho que se le dice al ciudadano: quédese en casa, solo salga afuera de esa casa a cosas específicas y muy puntuales de necesidad, y eso obviamente que afecta la movilidad de todos. Se pone la restricción de los vehículos, el Consejo de Transporte Público tiene que adecuar la demanda de los operadores de buses para nada más darle servicio a aquello que es esencial en su momento, de manera tal que ese es el primer impacto, por lo menos, de esta movilidad, el hecho de que necesariamente tenemos que protegernos los ciudadanos en la casa para evitar una propagación mayor de la enfermedad.
El impacto que ha habido en mi vida después del COVID, con con todo este cambio ha sido en mi forma de transportarme. No puedo utilizar el servicio de transporte público porque no me da seguridad para mi salud. Entonces, como vivo en San José, en la capital de Costa Rica, eso me permite movilizarme a todas las áreas que ocupe ir, ¿verdad? Y me ha ayudado a hacer ejercicio, ¿verdad? Camino más de lo que pensaba que podía caminar. Y emocionalmente me ayuda a no sentirme tan encerrada. Si bien es cierto, en algún momento pensé que yo iba a encontrar otras personas durante mis caminatas, no ha sido así. Es una ciudad como sola, desolada, ¿verdad? Pero aún así me sirve porque puedo respirar y ver otras cosas que no sea solo en mi casa.
Siempre hay momentos de oportunidad para revisar desde el punto de vista técnico y operativo qué se está haciendo en transporte público. Recordemos que ya veníamos con una situación de problema estructural en el sentido de que había venido bajando la demanda, la cantidad de usuarios utilizando el transporte de ruta regular. Existen otros mecanismos de transportación que habían venido utilizando, y con la llegada del tema de la COVID-19, eso se profundiza todavía más, la demanda cae drásticamente y ciertamente nos hace a nosotros pensar en el futuro. Entonces, no vamos a tener COVID-19 por siempre, pero vamos a tener que vivir todos los ciudadanos con estas reglas de distanciamiento, con estas reglas de cómo comportarnos en la calle, y la movilidad siempre se va a ver afectada. Definitivamente habrá que ir a diseñar nuevos conceptos, la sectorización es uno de ellos, la forma en que salimos los ciudadanos a nuestros lugares de trabajo. Hoy más bien el repunte es el uso de las tecnologías, ¿verdad? Al teletrabajo. Tenemos entonces que reorientarnos, hacerlo más eficiente todavía este sistema de transporte público para que lo podamos usar todos.
Hola, soy Álvaro Guzmán y soy consultor de transporte sostenible en Cercana. La movilidad después de la cuarentena va a exigir que toda la solidaridad que hemos demostrado en estas semanas de confinamiento se mantenga e incluso se amplíe. Y es que hay muchísimas personas que van a necesitar utilizar el transporte público porque no tienen otra alternativa mientras dure la pandemia. Para que estos lo puedan hacer de la manera más segura posible, es indispensable que solamente aquellos viajes que sean estrictamente necesarios se los haga. Que los viajes que puedan hacerse caminando en bicicleta se los haga a través de estos medios que son perfectamente seguros en la situación que estamos viviendo. Adicionalmente, los gobiernos locales, los municipios, deberán mantener las restricciones a los vehículos privados para de esta manera dejar espacio libre para el transporte público, para que los buses no se vean detenidos en ningún trancón ni en el tráfico. Recuerden, amigos, este virus lo paramos juntos.
Again, great impressions from Brazil. Thank you so much for all your participation today. Now we come to announce the winners of our quiz. But first of all, let me thank you. There was such an amazing number of participants, and we are delighted that you are so enthusiastic. Not all of you managed to finish all questions properly, but we hope that everybody had fun and that you considered it just an additional learning opportunity. The winner of the quiz answered more than 90% of the questions correctly, and I am happy to announce the winner. The winner is Asep Tesfaye Legese from Ethiopia. Congratulations, Asep. You are getting a prize, and we will get in touch with you via email. Now we are going to draw the second lucky winner from our lottery. Who is going to be the second person? I'm selecting from this small bowl here. Like this. And the winner is Klara Danilovic. Congratulations, we will get in contact with you via email. All right, thanks again for participating. And now we are coming to the end of TUMI TV. I mean, it's not the end of TUMI TV, but an end of TUMI TV today. It is not very easy to summarize the learnings of this day, which was so fully packed with more than 50 guests from around the world and many impressions from countries starting in Bangladesh, via Cambodia, to Indonesia, going to Africa and Europe, and now to Latin America. So there are a couple of things emerging which I would like to summarize. On the one hand side, it's about leadership. We have seen strong leaders, strong mayors who are taking action, who are taking swift actions to move the sustainable mobility agenda forward, even in times of crisis, at the same time tackling the crisis and the future of mobility. Secondly, once again, it's very clear that international cooperation is key. Both crises, the pandemic and the climate crisis, are matters of global scale. The sustainable transport community, and we have seen this today, has come together very quickly, has jointly developed solutions and communicated them worldwide. We have seen a great amount of learning from experiences worldwide through social media, through webinars, and so on. And we should foster this type of innovation and digitalization tech to further avoid all unnecessary travel. As TUMI, we are committed to support partners worldwide. That's why we have asked our TUMI members to sign the TUMI Call for Action Declaration. With this joint declaration, we are placing the vision for sustainable and resilient mobility at the heart of our response as TUMI initiative. Secondly, we have learned that an international transport transformation is possible. Pop-up bike lanes, speed reductions, public transport improvements are shining examples for quick, effective reactions in the sector. We should use the momentum which we have today to promote the advantages of more active, inclusive mobility for all. We need to enhance the transformation of transport worldwide. And green recovery is a must. The COVID crisis clearly is an unprecedented challenge, but also a great opportunity. And this was emphasized again and again by our guests today. Now it is time to work together, to push forward in designing greener, stronger, and more resilient transport options. Digitalization, innovation will enable sustainable development in the transport sector, in mobility. The narrative we should focus on is to build transport systems back better, stronger, and more resilient. With this in mind, we would like to thank the Federal Ministry for Economic Cooperation and Development, BMZ, for giving us the opportunity to host this event in a completely new format. We also would like to thank the International Transport Forum, giving us the space for the conference. And we would like to thank you, our amazing guests and participants, who made this day so colorful and rich. For us and the rest of the TUMI team, it was an exciting event, and we hope you enjoyed it. With that, I give back to Anne for last closing remarks. Thank you.
Now we will come to the end of our digital conference. A great thank you to all of our amazing guests for joining us on TUMI TV. We really enjoyed it to have you on our show. I would also like to thank our staff and the production team behind the camera who all made this exciting experiment possible. I have to say, I really learned a lot, and I hope you did too. We are looking forward to see you next year in Leipzig. Take care and stay healthy.